Hi, my name is Cora Keeper. I'm the Director of Education at the State Botanical Garden of Georgia. We are a division of public service and outreach at the University of Georgia in Athens. And this is my dear friend, Stacy Thurman.
My name is Stacy, and I am the branch manager of the Midway branch of the Woodford County Public Library, located in Midway, Kentucky.
Stacy and I have been dear friends since we were in 7th grade, and I won't share how long ago that was, but I will just hold up some fun pictures. We've had a lifelong friendship. This is us running track, which I think is a really fun picture. And also, as Stacy says, our infamous prom picture from high school. We did graduate in 96, so I will age us a little bit.
Yeah, lots of years and lots of hairstyles.
We've had many hairstyles. It has been great. Well, Stacy has so graciously invited the garden to join her for Kids Quest, so I'll let her share a little more about Kids Quest, and then we'll get started on a tour.
Kids Quest is a program that we're doing virtually for the Woodford County Library. We're having it every Thursday at 3 o'clock. It will be on our YouTube channel, and then we'll have a link to it on our Facebook. This is part of our summer reading program. Since we are not having programming in our building this summer, all of our programming is online, and you can look at our calendar online to see anything from programming for babies all the way up until older adults. And this is just part of a series of Kids Quest programs that we'll have. And Cora, we want to travel to other places, and I thought to travel to the botanical gardens in Georgia and visit with Cora would be a really great program. So I appreciate you joining us, Cora.
We're happy to be here. What a great thing to have lifelong friends that we get to share some of our love and what we do for our career as well. So we are going to take a tour of the Alice H. Richards Children's Garden. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Sounds good.
Hi, my name is Cora Keeper, and I serve as the Director of Education at the State Botanical Garden of Georgia. And I'm going to take you on a tour of the Alice H. Richards Children's Garden that you see behind me, and we're going to meet some of my friends and colleagues along the way. The Alice H. Richards Children's Garden opened in March of 2019. We received a sizable donation from the Richards Family Foundation in 2008 to honor their mother, Alice H. Richards. Miss Richards was a charter member of the Board of Advisors for the State Botanical Garden of Georgia. She was an enthusiast of the natural environment and driven to teach her own children and grandchildren about the beauty around us. The mission of the Alice H. Richards Children's Garden is to inspire wonder, love, and stewardship of nature for children of all ages. And we do this through 3 different capacities: using nature as teacher, connecting to nature through science, art, and math and literacy education, and lastly, healthy food, healthy body, healthy community, healthy earth. We have a map of the Children's Garden. It's a little shy of 2 acres, and there are several different galleries. Galleries in a children's garden mean different content areas, and so you'll get to explore some of those with us today.
Hi everyone, my name is Audrey S. Mitchell, and I am the Children's Program Coordinator here at the State Botanical Garden of Georgia. And I'm going to be talking to you about our Georgia Discovery Plaza here in our Children's Garden. You can see here our beautiful map of the state of Georgia. Wherever you are, wherever you grow up, you learn a lot about the geography of the state you live in. You learn about the regions, the water bodies, everything that makes your state what it is. And sometimes it's hard to kind of visualize that and how it all comes together. So we have this great interactive map and mural that shows us all those things. It helps us kind of imagine our state as a whole. Here at the State Botanical Garden of Georgia, we are in the city of Athens, right beside the Oconee River and in the Oconee watershed. And you can see on our map and our mural that we have different species highlighted that are really important to our ecosystem in our state of Georgia. Specifically right here, our Gopher Tortoise is the state reptile of Georgia. It is what's known as a keystone species. And a keystone species is an animal or plant that is really important to its environment. It does something in its natural life that influences all the other animals around it and really helps to hold up its ecosystem. So wherever you are in a watershed. And you may know what it is, but if you think of a bathtub, when the water from a shower comes down and hits the sides, it focuses it into the middle of the tub and then down into the drain. So a watershed is just the area of land that water flows through on its way to a body of water. And so it's always going to flow from high point to low point. So our interactive mural here is really great for showing us how water moves through the land and how even if you don't live next to a body of water, you have an effect on your watershed. And now we're going to follow the water cycle through the garden. We've followed our water cycle down to our bog, which is just one type of wetland, which are known as water purification systems for the environment. So I'm going to introduce you to our friend Will, and he's going to talk to you about Georgia bogs and some of the cool species that you find in them.
Hello, I'm Will Rogers, and I'm a science and conservation research professional here at the University of Georgia State Botanical Garden. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a few different species of carnivorous plants. I'm going to talk about how to feed, how to care for them, how they grow, and where they grow. Let's begin with Sarracenia. Sarracenia, a native to the south and southeastern United States, with one species, Sarracenia purpurea, that spans from Florida up into the northeast, the Great Lakes area, and into Canada. This species grows in very nutrient-poor peat and sphagnum bogs. They do obtain their nutrients and produce the minerals they need, much like many other plants, via their root systems and photosynthesis. But because their soil is so nutrient poor, they've had to evolve additional means to get additional nitrogen and phosphorus. They do this by these modified leaves or traps. The insect arrives on the opening, falls into the pit, and drowns in the plant's digestive acids. Nutrients from this mineralized insect soup are absorbed near the base of the plant via specialized cells. Drosera, or sundews, are found in bogs all around the world. They have these radiating leaves that have tentacles coated in a sticky glue-like substance. When the insect lands on the leaf, the tentacles excrete more of this glue that pin the insect to the leaf. The leaf will curl around, pinning the insect to the center of the leaf, where after it dies, the plant can absorb nutrients from the carcass. One of the most famous carnivorous plants in the world is the Venus flytrap. Venus flytraps are comprised of a leaf with a trap that has two lobes. The frills here act as a cage once the trap is sprung. The actual trigger for the trap is found within the leaf on each lobe, where 3 hairs are found. Venus flytraps are one of the most popular species for a reason. It has one of the fastest plant actions known to man. This trap can close in 1/3 of a second, and we're going to demonstrate it by feeding it. As you can see, if you stimulate the outside of the leaf, nothing happens. The trapping and triggering mechanisms are not on the outside of the leaf. If you go within the leaf and trigger the hairs, the trap snaps shut. As you can see, the trap has closed. The insect continues to struggle, and over time, in the next 3 to 5 minutes, the trap will close completely and fill with digestive acids. Each leaf closes only 7 times, so each leaf can only have 7 meals. Once the leaf has closed 7 times, it begins to senesce or die away, as you can see with this leaf here. It is very important if you trigger the traps to give it food. If the traps are triggered multiple times, but the plant isn't fed, the plant will die. So if you trigger the trap, be sure to give it a food item. Venus flytraps must have live insects. Once the hairs are triggered, the trap closes, but remember, not completely. You need a live insect to struggle to re-trigger the trapping mechanism. Feeding for Sarracenia is very simple. You simply find your prey item. Here we have another roly-poly, and you just drop it in the leaf. The plant takes care of the rest. When feeding the American carnivorous plants, think crispy food items. Appropriate items include flies, bees, wasps, and spiders. Never feed it anything slimy or gooey such as snails, slugs, and worms. They can actually rot the trap.
That was a lot of fun to learn from Will and about all of the great carnivorous plants. that we have growing in the state of Georgia. Now we're going to go through the water zone. Follow me. Thanks for going on that water zone adventure. We get to use this glorious pond right behind us to talk about all of the wildlife that uses water for their natural life cycles, such as frogs. We have several different kinds of minnows in here, and I've heard a story of a giant bullfrog living in one of the filters. This part is called the over, under, through. As you can see, it takes us from the highest point, and in Georgia, that's Brasstown Bald. It's one of the highest points in the state, all the way down to some of our cave systems, which you will see right over here. I'll join you over there in just a minute. But first, my favorite part. This is our fossil wall. It is a representation of species that we would have seen about 15,000 years ago to about 5 million years ago. And up here we have some real ground sloth ribs. We were gifted a fossil collection from Eric Schaefer and Loretta Lee that they found. Now, let's go into our cave, the lowest part of the garden. We've got a great representation of our stalagmites and our stalactites, and this cave is modeled after Sitton's Cave. Now I want you to do a little bit of homework and see if you have any caves near your home.
Now we're here in the root zone portion of our children's garden, which is a really awesome place because it's kind of a behind the scenes of a part you don't normally get to see about a plant until you pull it up. So we have some really cool examples of roots above us, and then right here you can actually see into our children's garden, into our dig and grow, where you can get the opportunity to see some of the root systems of the plants we're growing right now.
Hi, my name is Paula, and I'm the art program coordinator here at the State Botanical Garden of Georgia.
Hi, and I'm Ellen. I'm an assistant educator here at the garden and also a graduate student at the University of Georgia. Today we're here at the Alice H. Richards Children's Garden, and we're going to give you a tour of some of the artwork that's here that we use to educate about the environment.
The Children's Garden is full of features that we use to teach people about the environment, and the art here also plays an important role in connecting the garden to the community of Athens. All the pieces here were created by local artists, and many of them were made with help from the community.
Our first stop is here at the entryway of the garden. This gate was created by metal artist Andrew Crawford. Andrew lives and works in Atlanta, Georgia, and has a studio called Ironworks. He makes different large sculptures for areas of the community, restaurants, and places like this garden.
Metalworking is a really labor-intensive process. It starts with a design or a sketch, and then includes cutting, welding, sanding, bending, and polishing metal pieces to achieve the final result.
This sculpture depicts a native plant that grows here in Georgia called greenbrier. It welcomes visitors to the children's garden, and it provides 3 different entry points to the garden. Let's go check it out.
Our next stop is a popular garden destination, especially in the summer. These mushroom sculptures depict the species Lactarius indigo, otherwise known as the indigo milkcap.
These mushrooms are special due to their rare blue color and because they produce a special substance called latex when cut. Like all mushrooms, the indigo milkcap releases spores into the air in order to reproduce. The mushrooms were designed to make the mist and to showcase that same process.
The artists who made these misting mushroom sculptures are Mike Harbold and his team at St. Udio, Athens. St. Udio is a metal shop just like Ironworks. Mike and his team cut out the metal shapes and then bent and welded the metal. After the forms were created, they added a coat of the blue color to make them look like the indigo milkcap species in a process called powder coating. Here's St. Udio team member Austin Dishman welding a base for one of the mushrooms.
Mike and his team at St. Udio are also responsible for creating the metal plaques on the Georgia Discovery Wall, as well as the metal planter beds in the Dig and Grow.
Our next stop is the Pollinator Plaza. This is a really special part of the garden because the artist created it with help from the community. Local artist Krisha Ara made these mosaics based on designs that were inspired by a student project here at the garden. The Connect to Protect coloring book by Susie Henderson. This coloring book shares the story of the foods we eat and how they each have an important relationship with the insect that pollinates them. For example, the passionflower vine is the exclusive larval host plant of the Gulf fritillary, which is a species of native butterfly. This means that the Gulf fritillary caterpillars can only eat leaves of passionflower vine and no other plants will suffice. Female Gulf fritillaries must seek out the passionflower vine to lay eggs on in the summer. Passionflowers are also pollinated by insects such as bees and wasps.
Krisha enlisted the help of our summer camp students to paint glaze onto the tiles. The students were so excited to help, knowing their hard work would be displayed at the garden for years to come. Krisha also set up tile painting parties so that members of the Athens community could come and lend a hand painting the tiles.
Another feature of the Pollinator Plaza is the Bee Dance Path, which features mosaics of native bee species and the European honeybee. While the European honeybee is not a native species, it plays an important role in the production of the foods we eat, as well as providing honey. The Bee Dance Path illustrates the bee Waggle Dance, which is a dance that the European honeybees do to communicate with each other. They use the Waggle Dance like a secret code of movement to tell the rest of the hive where they found a source of nectar.
Hi guys, welcome to our Dig and Grow area. My name is Katie McCollum and I am the curator of the Children's Garden. So you guys have gotten to see a lot of really cool stuff throughout our garden, and now you're in one of my favorite areas. So as the curator, I am in charge of making sure that all of our plants are doing really well, and I help pick out which plants we're going to use each year, and I also help to make sure that they're all growing and being nice and strong. So as you can see around us right now, we have some of our summer stuff out. So we have some basil right here that's very purple. This is also basil next to it that is green. So lots of our vegetables come in all different shapes and sizes. And this is a great example of that. So both of these are basil and we'll use them in a similar way, but their colors are very different, which is awesome. We have some eggplant back here that you can see. It's starting to get nice and big. And then right over here is all of our tomatoes. So as you look at our tomatoes, you're gonna see right now that we have some flowers. There's a bee on one of our flowers right now, which shows some awesome stuff. And each of these flowers is gonna become one of our tomatoes. So as those flowers grow, they start turning into the fruit. And if you look right down here, you can see some of our tomatoes right now. So when they first start, they're very green. And then as they get bigger, they change into different colors. So having all of these different colors in our garden is great for the way our garden looks, and it's also really good for us. So one of our biggest principles is healthy food, healthy body, healthy community, healthy earth. And what this means is that keeping each of those things healthy helps the next one to stay healthy as well. So part of what we do with our garden is we grow all of this delicious food to help use for our programs, as well as to give to others who might need it.
Let's follow Paula and Ellen to Forest Play through the bones of the giant, which is a representation of a fallen American chestnut tree.
Our next stop is the bird nest in Forest Play. This nest was created by local artist Chris Taylor. Chris is a land artist, which means he uses materials that are naturally found and are sustainable. They don't have any impact on the earth and they tend to decay. That's part of a land artist's process, is not needing something to stay in its current state, and it can decay naturally. Chris collected all the sticks and branches from the surrounding woods.
There's not that many nails and screws holding this nest together either. Most of it was made with careful placement and decision making, just like how a bird would do it. Another great feature of the Forest Play area are these giant acorns. These acorns were created in a collaboration between ceramic artist Peter McCarran and concrete designer David Harrison. They're made from concrete, but not all the way through.
That's right. The artist and engineer had to come up with a way to make acorn shapes out of pure concrete. So they used a yoga ball on the inside of a wire form and used plaster and concrete on the outside like a shell. Sculpture artists call this skeleton-like structure inside of a piece an armature.
This makes the acorns really strong so that kids of all ages can climb on them.
Last but surely not least, this is the Theater in the Woods. This was the first space in the Children's Garden to open in October of 2015. We use this space to do our Children's Garden Performance Series, which is the third Saturday of the month when we are running our programs. And we also use it for our summer camp performances. We have our kids produce skits for the end of the week, and then we let them perform on the stage.
Then they called on Dr. Fly. Bring somebody Mr. Cambo, and he said, Mr. Tick, you'll surely die. Bring somebody Mr. Cambo. Comedy on down, comedy on Cairo. Bring somebody Mr. Cambo.
Well, thanks for joining us on this adventure of the Alice H. Richards Children's Garden. If you're interested in getting some more information, such as our Children's Garden Passport or our Connect to Protect coloring book, you can visit us at www.uga.edu. And if you look under the education page, you'll find educational activities at home. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed it.
It was so wonderful to visit the Children's Garden in Athens and to see what you do every day, Cora. And it's an amazing facility. Thank you for showing us around.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. I feel like it's a really magical place.
I'm going to read a book called Flowers Are Calling, and it's written by Rita Gray and illustrations by Kennard Pack. Flowers are calling a little black bear. No, not a bear. He doesn't care. They're calling a butterfly to dip from the air. Flowers are calling a wet green frog. No, not a frog. She likes her soggy bog. They're calling bumblebees to look near their log. The bumblebee. Flowers are calling a porcupine. No, not a porcupine. She wouldn't take the time. They're calling a hummingbird to sip at their vine. Here are some flowers you can look for outside. This is Queen's Anne lace. Butterflies like a landing pad when they drink their nectar. And monk shoot. Bumblebees are hefty enough to push deep inside the monk shoot flower where the nectar is stored. And then this is a trumpet honeysuckle. Hummingbirds use their long tongues to reach the nectar hidden in deep tubular flowers and hover as they drink. Flowers are calling a loud blue jay. No, not a jay. He wouldn't stay. They're calling a honeybee to fly their way. Flowers are calling a little moose. No, not a moose. What would be the use? They're calling a beetle to eat their pollen loose. Flowers are calling a rabbit to stop. No, not a rabbit. It's not their habit to call a rabbit. He might grab it. They're calling a bee fly to visit their spot. And these are apple tree blossoms. Honeybees help make many of the fruits, nuts, and vegetables we eat by pollinating fruit tree blossoms, such as the apple tree. There are also thousands of varieties of wild bees that help to make many of the foods we eat. And then this is magnolia. I have some of these in my yard. Beetles have been visiting flowers for more than 100 million years. That's a long time. And this is a violet, purple flowers. Bee flies look like bumblebees, but have 2 wings instead of 4. Like hummingbirds, they are able to hover their furry bodies in the air as they drink the nectar. Flowers are calling a small brown snake. No, not a snake, for goodness sake. They're calling a pollen wasp with nectar to take. Flowers are calling a fat raccoon. No, not a raccoon. He doesn't care for white bloom or sweet perfume. They're calling a moth in the light of the moon. These are flowers that bloom at night. Flowers are calling a desert deer. No, not a deer. He can't even get near. They're calling a nectar bat to flap over here. Did you know there were nectar bats? Blowout beard tongue. That is a strange name for a flower. And the blowout beard tongue, I got very sidetracked by that name. Pollen wasps, like bees, make loaves of nectar and pollen to feed their young. Carden cactus. Lesser long-nosed bats have long tongues that can reach the nectar deep inside the bell-shaped flowers of the carden cactus. These cactus flowers unfurl for just 1 short night. They only bloom for 1 night. And then this is the moonflower and Carolina sphinx moth. Sphinx moths are expert flyers with very long tongues. Like carden cactus, the bloom of the moonflower opens for just 1 night and depends on the nighttime visits of moths for their pollination. Flowers are calling a busy wren. No, not a wren. He's already seen them. They're calling some children to look again. And that is the end. It just shows a few more flowers and some bees and some flies. That's the end.
Thank you so much, Stacy. That was wonderful. And just like you have the magnolias in your yard, I have the trumpet coral honeysuckle right behind me. So how serendipitous of that. If you can see the long tubes.
Tubular shaped flowers.
Yep. Hummingbirds love the color red, and they love to be able to stick their long tongue down a trumpet shaped flower. So that's really really fun. Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and we want to leave all of our participants with a fun activity. So we're going to invite everyone to enjoy creating their own nature and art.
As you saw on the tour with Paula and Ellen, there are so many ways to incorporate nature into art. Here are some ways that you can use some stuff from your yard to create your own unique artwork.
These are the things I collected from my backyard for the nature artwork. I have some leaves from a pine tree, a weed, but that looks like a flower.
A dandelion.
Dandelion. A leaf. Another leaf. A yellow leaf with spots. A hosta leaf. A piece of lamb's ear. A flower.
A begonia.
2 other flowers from a different plant. A twig. A long leaf from a plant.
From an iris.
iris. Another long leaf from a plant over there. Cilantro.
Get close to that.
Some berries that I just found. Two pine cones. Oh, this spiky leaf from a plant.
It's amazing what you can find in your backyard.
And a clover. Two. That's all.
Okay.
These are the things, this is the art project that I made out of the things I found in my backyard. Some of these things we planted and grew ourselves, and some of these things have been here longer than we have.
Cora, thank you so much for taking the time to let us visit the garden and showing us around. It was such a pleasure to be able to do some work with one of my bestest friends, and I hope that someday that I and the people watching can come visit the botanical gardens in person and see all the lovely things that you've shown us. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. We welcome you to come. The garden is free and open to the public, and what a wonderful resource for our community, both in this state and also throughout the nation. So we hope that you all can come and join us as well and enjoy the rest of your Kids Quest program. Happy naturing and arting at home.
Bye.
Bye.